Hey there, independent Scientologists. Discover a new perspective to your bridge by visiting ao-gp.org. Get in session with remote auditing using the Theta meter. Are you curious about where you stand? Head on over to ao-gp.org now and take our free personality test. Join the growing group of independent Scientologists today.
Hi, and welcome to another AOGP Outside of the Church podcast. After a 2-week, much-needed break, reach and withdraw on the listening universe and YouTube and the Internet of Things, we are back. Season 9, Episode 25. I'm here with Scientologirl and Arthur Mudakis, the holy triumvirate of the AOGP podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
I'm okay. It's just day 4 of no vape, so.
Arthur, how was your vacation from podcasting?
It was good. It was well, it wasn't quite a vacation, but it was pretty busy. It was good. I'm actually really tired this week. It's been a very busy couple of weeks.
Well, it's nice to have you both back. I didn't know what to do with myself without doing podcasts and the post-production. Was in the mornings. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So today's podcast is going to be what it takes to go OT or operating Thetan, to get up to the upper end of the bridge. And I have been running into this a lot lately with people. And I wanted to discuss it with you guys and our listeners and hopefully inspire some people to do things differently. How's that sound?
Right.
So gather around, boys and girls. Get your marshmallows and your chocolate and your graham crackers, and let's make some s'mores and tell some ghost stories.
What do they call those people? I'm smiling because what do they call those people that like are part of a religion and then they default off the religion and go someplace else? There's a word for them.
Splinter?
Traders?
So, sort of something similar to that, but like,
well, in a way, that's what this is.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, just condemn us for being those people.
Well, this is not a condemnatory conversation by any means. Hopefully, it is an illuminating conversation because it is such a fine line between getting to your destination and not even getting in the car and putting gas or petrol in it.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to.
So what does it take, my love?
So I'm not speaking to anybody in particular. I don't want to miss anybody's withholds on this. I mean, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at him, but I'm that's not what's happening here. What it takes to go OT is simple. Okay. Consider that you're Neo in the Matrix. Okay. And you have this universe that you're a part of. And this universe that you're a part of is saying, agree. And you've just gone clear, or maybe you're on your grades, and you're like, well, I've got to take care of this, and I've got to go here, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I've got to take care of this, and I'm just so busy. And money's not agreeing with me, and I have disagreements and I have agreements, and I can't get anything done, and I've got a business to run. I've got 3 businesses to run, and okay. The point is, and this is and I'm gonna cut to the chase instead of doing it at the end of the podcast like LRH does in his lecture. Maybe I'm gonna regret this and run out of things to talk about, but I'm just gonna say it. Whatever's going on with you is going on with you because you're in agreement with it. I got people that were supposed to be on their OT levels 4 or 5 months ago that haven't even gotten a fraction of the way that they need to get through their solo course to get on their OT levels. And they're completely paid. Okay. They don't, all I have to do is just do it. But instead there's this and there's that, and I've got this, and I'm having such a good time, and I'm going on this vacation, and I'm going here. And it's like, okay, so you're in agreement with those things. You're in agreement with those things that are important. But why aren't you in agreement with doing something that you haven't been, doing something that allows you to be something you haven't been for trillennia? Okay.
Okay, well, let me start.
That's my first thing. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I could see it on your face.
Yeah. Okay. So imagine this scenario, right? Somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, if you just do this, I'll give you some magic, and that stuff is gonna make you like super powerful. Like you're gonna be like God mode, right?" And then
This is gonna be fun.
and then they go and they and they give it, and the person does it, and they receive it and stuff like that, and then they're like, wow, wow, this stuff is so powerful. And then they go off and they play the games and stuff like that. And then the guy's like, but wait, I can make you even better. And then the people, they're like, well, I mean, I'm having so much fun. I'm having why would I need to have anything more? So I guess my question here is like, why would it be, if somebody has already reached a stage where they're having all the gains from their current or past auditing and stuff like that, and they've reached the place where they thought they wanted to be, what would be the motivation to continue on that journey?
Well, the definition of the Latin definition of Scientology. Excuse me, the dog keeps wanting attention. The Latin definition of Scientology is knowing how to know. Okay, so
but that might be important for you. It might not necessarily be important for everybody else.
Well, and
I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And Arthur, feel free to jump in at any point.
Well, there is a part of me that kind of wishes I had this opportunity, say 200 years ago, because I wouldn't have a TV. I wouldn't have other distractions. If that was the only material I had to focus on outside of my daily chores, normal survival needs, I'd probably focus more on it. And if you really consider some of the old greats that opened the doors to science, they did it over a candlelight, and what do you do?
Right.
What do you do when
the sun goes down? Now what?
Yeah, you even consider some of the great artwork from so long ago. These people had nothing else to do but things they loved doing.
Yeah, and there were a lot less distractions. Yeah,
that's right. Whereas now we've got agreements left, right, and center. Now I'm sort of treading a fine line between my own justifications for not pushing harder as well, and it's hard to determine if they are justifications or if it's just the modern day, the way it is.
Right.
Because you've got opportunities everywhere. There's 1,001 different courses you can do for your own personal development. Why would you choose Scientology?
Well, I'll approach
just
that
saying.
second. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's why I wanted to do this podcast. So put a pin in that. So and thank you for telling me that. We'll get to that in a second. And yours, Scientologirl, was you're doing great already. Why continue?
Yeah, I mean it's similar. It's the same thing really with Arthur's thing, is that if life is great already and we have all our needs fulfilled and stuff, or we think we do, what's the motivation to do anything else?
Well, that's a very good question.
I have a small idea on that. And from working with a lot of people, I think it's a natural tendency to fear the unknown. And if you believe you're in a happy state and somebody's telling you you can be greater than you are, then how do you know? You know what I mean? It's like if you give something up, I still smoke. If I gave up cigarettes, the thought of giving up cigarettes is daunting because I don't know how I'll be without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may love it, but until I take that massive step, I won't know. So I'll just continue where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So the fear of the unknown and potential change can be really big and daunting as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is interesting to note, and you'll see how this correlates here in a minute. It's interesting to note that when a person is doing handling their overts and withholds on a confessional list, a question about overts and withholds, the first thing you do afterwards is you run havingness, because the person considers
Their aberrations
their
as havingness.
aberrations as havingness.
Yeah.
And that is the angle of attack from which I am approaching this to a degree, because uh just like, I mean, Arthur he just like let the monkey out of the cage on that type of a thing. Well, I have all these beautifully designed distractions that are literally called programming, TV, Netflix, whatever you want to call it, um, all over the place, and the physical universe at large, and these problems. So the universe is designed to play you. Okay, that's how it's set up, and you've gone, okay, I'll agree with that. That sounds like fun, freedoms, barriers, and purposes. That's a game, right? But the thing is you can play the game of your choosing, or you can have the universe play the game of its choosing on you. And both are really interesting, but which one is going to advance you to a point you used to be? You can regain your ground that you lost at some point on the time track, and the awareness and the abilities that you have. It's tough being an OT. It's really difficult. I spoke to another OT yesterday in a meeting, and I just couldn't stop talking because the realities are the same. And you don't have a reality on the reality of OT until you have that reality. So it's that unconscious incompetence to a certain degree. And you don't know what you're missing until you get there. But believe you me, and maybe I'm short circuiting this podcast by saying this, but there's an awful lot there to where you have the ability to do more things. You don't have the problems you're just used to having, because that's the game that you're playing. And that's the difference, is you're creating a new type and set of games based on your goals. And as you know, Scientologirl, you're great with the admin scale, and you tell other people about the admin scale. You know, your games, you've achieved the games of your admin scale.
Yeah.
You've peaked.
Yeah.
You know, that's the P90X program 10 years ago was, well, what do you do when you've done all the exercising you can do, and you're not getting in any better shape because the body has plateaued? Well, as a Thetan, you've plateaued on your admin scale. And when you get onto the OT levels, all of a sudden this new vista opens up. You get a brand new set of binoculars that has a much better magnification. And you're like, what is that? You're focusing on the binoculars, me holding the binoculars. Wow, that's really, I can do. Yeah. New goal that you would have never, ever conceived, because you're telling yourself, I can't do this. I can only do this. That's what the OT levels does for you, because you're removing all of this charge that is preventing your awareness as to what your true abilities and knowingness and awareness truly are. You can't be aware of something you're not aware. We see this every day in Scientology. How many? I mean, we all three of us have cognitions every day with the tech.
Right.
I don't think that's an unfair statement. Well, multiply that times a couple thousand from one session to the next. I'm not kidding. Why in the world would you want to go on a cruise? And those people know who I'm talking to. Why in the world would you want to go travel? Why in the world would you want to start a new business project? You give me a year. Don't even give me 2 years. You can go from the bottom of the bridge to the top in roughly 2 years. I'm not kidding you. Why in the world wouldn't you give me a year to get you to a point to where you're like, I don't even recognize the person that I was before? And all I'm doing is doing what Hubbard says.
And then, I've also seen how where right up until just past clear, things are kind of like easy. Person gets in session every day, like a lot of them can confront that. But then as soon as they have to put in their own work, like going and doing the OT levels and all the things that require you to be on the OT levels, your
Yeah.
solo, your pro TRs, etc., etc. But like they just drop off because I think it almost goes. Well, I mean, you have to be a lot more responsible to be like, okay, I'm going to take KRC for my life right now. There's no agreement with, because they can avoid you as the auditor and just be like, oh, yeah, I got caught up with this.
So
And
busy. I'm doing
yeah,
this. I'm doing
exactly.
that. I mean, and that's and to Arthur's point, so we can address his pin because you're pretty much right there on it. Is it's an agreement with whatever it is that you're in agreement with. That's what it comes down to. Is well, I've got to binge watch this series. I sat down. We got a computer, a really nice Windows machine a few months ago. And I thought, yeah, this will be a good distraction. I'm so tired of working. It's summer. It's slower, summer in the northern hemisphere. So I had time. So I sat down and I played a game. And on the Steam platform, and PlayStation too, it keeps track of how many hours you've spent.
It's shameful when they
And
do that.
I saw 60 hours I've been playing Manor Lords. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I thought, that's just an incredible overt for me. I could have been, restudying LRH. I could have been creating, something for students. I could have been in session, primarily going up my bridge. I could have been doing da. So I immediately curtailed that sort of a thing. And if you had a Apple Watch or you had a Samsung Watch or something like that, and you said keep track of my activities like they do with screen time on iPhones.
Yeah.
You looked at this, you did this app, da 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 da. You would be stunned at how much time
You spend distracted.
you spend distracted by things. And this is to Arthur's point. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
How much time? I mean, you just get on the internet and you go look for one thing, and the next thing you know, you're 13 things over, and you're like, wow, Elon Musk said that. Oh, and then you're like, what was I doing? Oh, never mind. And then off you go.
Yeah.
So the point is in the here and now. If you want to get up the bridge, you've got to change your mind and decide. And I know people hate to hear this. And I got to say this, one of the least listened to podcasts in a recent history that we've had. Do you know which one it is?
Something about ethics.
Yeah, it's the self-discipline one.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear about self-discipline. Well, I got news for you, goddammit. You need to hear about self-discipline, because self-discipline is the only way you're ever going to go OT or get anything done. You've got to knuckle down. Look what look what this guy did. I'm not even asking you to come even close to approaching that. I'm just asking you to better yourself. That's all,
Yeah.
And I really want to see people help themselves. Go ahead, Arthur.
While I was driving to the coast, somebody put up a video of Bill Robertson, and he was talking about towards the end of his time with Ron Hubbard, and he was just sort of giving out some stories about how he sort of got to that point, and he did exactly what you're saying. So when he discovered Scientology, he did everything possible financially. He saved up all the money he needed to do all the courses that he could, and then he slowly went up to the ranks, and then eventually ended up working with the Sea Org. And I don't know, I find Bill Robertson really inspiring, because when that man speaks, he speaks from his body. and you can tell the difference between, you know, your everyday person versus this man. They're not the same people. You know what I mean? And the way he speaks about it with such enthusiasm as well. He has no regret at all for the path that he chose, and took with it. And it was just a really cool lecture. And then hearing you talk now as well, like some days I look at my TV and I just want to smash it. Like there's something inside of me that wants to smash it. Then I'm sitting in front of it. You know what I mean? It's just like this weird conflict that goes inside. There's this part inside of me that says, you should be, you should be, you should be, while I'm watching a show. Like it's, yeah. And going back to what you were saying around agreements, okay, I agree to sit down and watch something. And then while I'm watching it, there's another part of my conscious that's just like, dude, you know, start studying again, get back into it. What's wrong with you? And I find myself as well, while I'm doing things I dislike, like work, but I need the work. You know what I mean? And while I'm doing a job I hate, I'm like, dude, you should be studying. Dude, you should be studying.
That's a great point. One of the things that you find when you get onto the OT levels is you find a means of employment that you want to do. You have a purpose that aligns with the ability to make money, to where you're getting paid because you're doing something you enjoy to do. Now, feel free to chime in on this, because this is relatively new for you, Scientologirl. I mean, you know, it's been what, 2 years, 2.5 years, 2.5 years.
Since what?
Since you really got the ball rolling on your art business.
Yeah.
And I don't know, knowing you like I do, some days you feel like, you know, hey, this is great, I love doing this, and other days you're like, I hate drawing buildings for people.
It would be okay if the profit matched the, you know,
right.
But I okay, so long story short, I screwed up and I basically charged the same price for something because I had a special going on, and this person just so happened to want buildings. Fuck my life. But yeah, it was something that was supposed to take an hour each, took like 3 hours each, and I just really screwed myself, and never again. But can carry on.
Right. So I mean, you know, and like you said, Arthur, you know, it's a job. If you could do something else, you would do something else, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So your ability to postulate increases exponentially. And when I say postulate, I mean, you know, okay, somebody says, well, that's great, I can decide I'm going to do this. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can see why you would feel that way. But the thing is to carry it through to fruition is the ability that one gets. And it's not just about what's good for you. That's the thing, is this I, me, mine thing. We've talked about this endlessly in prior podcasts, so I'm not going to go there. But it's you have to get your own first dynamic in order to help other dynamics, whatever that's going to be. And so getting your first dynamic in order is a big part of going up the bridge, because if you can't function properly, how in the hell are you supposed to help anybody else? You got to have your ducks in a row. Why in the world won't you get out of your own way? Well, you stop agreeing with the TV. Stop agreeing with, you know, the more data you get on this, the more time you spend on course. I re-listened to a couple of briefing course lectures weekend before last, and I just had a blast. And I was listening to things that I'd listened to before, and I got something completely different out of it because of my experience in auditing that I didn't have the first time that I listened to it this lifetime. Yeah. So, and I'm sure I know my viewpoint was different at the time because I didn't have that experience then either. But it's one of those things that you have to assign yourself to something and push through it and make it happen, because all these other things are just here to prevent you from doing this. And the OT levels, the stuff on the OT levels, is what is pushing back at you to prevent you from getting there. because it's an aberration of a kind you are yet unfamiliar with.
Right. And I also just want to say that if this does seem a little bit like qualitative data, like sort of like very subjective opinions, all of that stuff, just remember that LRH says that things don't stay the same. Statistics don't stay the same. They either go up or they go down.
That's right.
So if you're not taking active steps to improve, and you're just relying on what's out there and what you have available right now, guess what? Your statistics, maybe not right now, but at some point they're going to go down. So this is why you need to keep that up. And it's also why OTs who are, as far as they can be, they've got to keep doing the successful action, keep going in session and that sort of thing as well. So,
yeah. Well, and axiomatically speaking, a Thetan has to agree to become aberrated.
mm-hmm.
Okay. And and you choose to re-stimulate yourself, to your point about the TV. You choose to re-stimulate yourself as a being.
Yeah.
Okay. Period. That's it. I don't have anything else to say on it except that. And that's a lot to accept.
This whole thing should be indicative. If you've got a problem with the TV and wanting to go to fun places and doing fun things and, all of this stuff, then that means that without those things, you are chronically bored. And if you are bored, you are not where you should be.
Right. Where's boredom on the tone scale?
Exactly.
You're not in strong interest or enthusiasm or aesthetics. Take that cord from that TV and give it to somebody and say, here, keep it, so I can't turn the TV on. If that's what you, I'm not suggesting this, Arthur, but as an example,
it's not. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to want to go play these games and do these things. It's a very social thing. It's high tone to want to live your life, right?
Right.
This is what Scientology is for. Yeah. Except if it is a case of you not wanting to, further yourself and better yourself, and instead just be like having this, doing this, right? Well, you're going to come up short because beingness is the most important part of the trio.
Right. You can't go OT without being to some degree OT. Now, maybe that's the chicken before the egg or the egg before the chicken.
Arthur looks so angelic with that sunlight on his face.
Yeah. Saint Arthur. What'd you want to say, Arthur?
There's a weird irony. There's a weird irony that goes on as well, because to some degree, like even, and I'm going to safely say pretty much all of us have OT moments throughout our life, and they can be broken down by choosing to make a meal and making it, choosing to earn money to some way, even if you dislike it, it's still a decision that you've created. And I think if you sort of break down your day, things you choose to do, like even if I choose to sit down and have a coffee, that's still representative of some kind of actual decision that I've chosen, as opposed to being compelled to do something and then realizing after, what was I just doing? So I think if we, I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's an OT decision to sit here and commit myself to do a podcast with you guys.
Right.
It's a conscious decision that's been chosen.
They're a pain in the ass to do sometimes.
Well, the only thing that gets in the way sometimes is just life stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's it. Things that occur.
Yeah. And
so I guess what I'm saying is like maybe.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is I think everybody can have an idea of what OT could be like without, parts of a pie, instead of OT as a whole pie. For what you're saying, I think we can all say, okay, we've all had mini OT experiences. Like even the person that did choose the cruise, okay, it was a conscious decision. Yes, it's not going to get them further than a couple of weeks of a nice time as a whole being, but it's still a conscious choice.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a postulate that was made, and if you can make that postulate, you can make the postulate to get through your courses.
Yeah.
see a relative, or go see a friend, or whatever, or I mean, all these other things that really, right in the middle of all of this, you're going to go do that.
Yeah.
Priorities.
And I really want to say something towards that effect. What I have seen in my life, I have seen where it hasn't just been the negative things that have conveniently popped up. Like, for example,
Right.
okay, I need to exercise. Oh, that day I'm feeling, dizzy, so I don't want to, go on the fucking treadmill or something like that, right? It is also some positive things that I will put freedoms there or barriers there to create, to not have me, have to do the thing that I need to do.
That's right.
And I feel like that should really be looked at as well. It's not just the negative things, it's also some of the seemingly positive things, the distractions.
Yeah, it's important to note that you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity right now, and everybody knows how they feel when they have an opportunity that they've missed, and now they don't have that opportunity anymore, and it's not coming back. And so that's not a great, to me, that's the worst feeling in the world, is I could have and I didn't. We're looking at an opportunity where you can take a small piece of your life and educate yourself to where you are no longer the same way. Your life has fundamentally changed forever. Okay. My life fundamentally changed forever when I came to South Africa. Had you guys known what my life was before that, you would have gone, oh my God, how could you ever live that way and have that kind of a business and an income and everything like that? This life here doesn't look like anything. And that was an OT decision. I could not get the job done in the United States. I couldn't. And it wasn't because of anyone. It was just because
Yes,
of
course.
No. I didn't. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Please, baby, don't beat me, baby. You have to look at what's pro survival and what's contra survival. Okay, and you have to look at the big picture and go, okay, that one definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing when you're not getting in session, on course. And I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I'm very empathetic about this. But the thing is it's just a matter of decision, because you get to a certain point to where the snowball starts rolling downhill, and now you've got this momentum, you've got this critical, if you want to say, let's say critical negative mass, where you're like, God, I don't feel the same. Things are working out for me better. You're pulling in all these positive flows. You have more time to do more things. You can spread yourself across different things. You're not forgetful. You're not this. You're not that. You're functioning better. You're achieving more goals. And it just goes and it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. If somebody told me I'd be doing right now what it is that I'm doing when I was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would have said they're nuts. You are absolutely nuts to say that you would be doing this outside of the church, doing a podcast, being so overt about it. I would have never ever been able to confront that. I couldn't, because why? I wasn't doing it. What changed? I did my bridge. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and become a priest and, that type of thing. I'm not asking for agreement. Just saying you'll find your way, what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it. But you got to get there first. Otherwise, when you do get there, you're going to look back on it. I promise you, every single person I've gotten through the OT levels goes, yeah, I was stuck, and I didn't realize it. And then all of a sudden, somebody came along with a big, huge piece of wood and lifted up the back end of the car so the drive wheel could get out of the mud, and then the car took off again, and they were never stuck in that position again.
So when you really think about it, do you think that it's okay, so we've mentioned the quote unquote positives, like, we get distracted because life's so great and everything, but couldn't it then rather be at the base, there's a lack of confront because things are obviously so complexity and
Absolutely.
confrontingness.
Absolutely. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot to confront. I mean, I was scared shitless to audit anybody when I got out of the church.
Well, I mean,
Because
for me, I'll tell you honestly, like I'm afraid. There are elements that I'm afraid of with the upper levels. Like, being clear, I could still, sort of skate through with the well, being very honest, I could skate through with the no, this lifetime is the real stuff. This is, the present time, that kind of thing, all my childhood shit and whatever. But when you do the OT levels, you've got to confront the stuff that I was really afraid of, or I had so much fear about growing up. So, the whole cult thing where, there's demons and all that stuff. You're going to go to hell and just a bunch, possession, just really some suppressive stuff that, no kid should have known about. I mean, in Scientology, full grown adults don't know about it until a certain level,
Yeah.
So now you put that shit on a kid. It really, it's a scary thing. So then you tell me, okay, no, well, now you've got to confront that. Aside from all the other things that need to be confronted, like getting through pro-TRs and learning how to solo audit and taking KRC for yourself instead of just sitting there being in session in order to ask you questions. Well, that's easy enough, right? But now you've got to do the work to reach those levels. Plus you have, whatever fear is holding you back, because I guarantee you, whoever isn't on the OT levels, they have some reason for not being on there.
And that's exactly my point. Arthur, you're nodding your head.
Look, this is really making me think about me a lot. It's not triggering, but it's definitely really making me think, because I'm only just the tiny bit in many respects, and to be fair to say, like, I can't help it, but I use that tech all the time, and it's not that I can't help it; it's because it works.
It fits,
It works. Like, even my language changes. I find myself using Scientology words because it makes so much more sense. And, even just, like everything I've done so far, I apply, and it's impossible not to in many ways. So, to go further, it's a little daunting, but at the same time, the success and the reality of it has been so strong already. I can't quite comprehend what the outcome will be, but I know something will certainly occur for my betterment.
Yep. You're looking out the window, Scientologirl. You're looking very thoughtful.
I'm just listening to all he has to say. Yeah. But it's very interesting how you can just sort of stay stuck. Can I out you a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I know that you said that OTs need to regularly, clean up and go in session and stuff. Is there a reason why you don't do that as often as you should?
And that is absolutely fair territory to ask. The best answer for our listeners would be, I finished Excalibur around 2017, and at that point in time, and what is it my parents used to say, if you can dish it out, you can take it.
Yeah.
So here we are. Things really started picking up with the AOGP and the auditing and stuff like that. The first couple of years were pretty rough. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was coming out of non-existence, working up to danger. Emergency got to non-existence and affluence, and then things Okay, and I'm not this isn't me justifying by any
I'll
means.
savage under
I'm waiting for you to go. You sure? She does that all the time. And then I got into the create of making an online course room, and then creating a couple of different social media platforms that just kept not doing what I wanted them to do, and I was getting people in session, and then I got into all these games and stuff like that.
So what you're
when I say
saying
games,
is
as far as
you
the
went into
organization,
agreement with where you're at.
that's and I know our listeners are going aha, and
From the
that's
outside,
huh,
I've only known you what 2.5 years,
something
say,
like that. Yeah,
to be fair.
yeah.
And I have to admit, sometimes I find it really intimidating how much you actually do. And like watching you develop AOGP the way you have, both of you, over the last couple of years, like it boggles my mind how you make it happen.
Well, I've had other people say, how does he have the time to do all of this stuff? And
Yes.
that's the thing. That's the problem for me. That's the problem is there's so many things to do, and so little time isn't part of my.
Sounds, you know what this sounds like? This sounds very complex.
Well, and I will be upfront and fair and honest with you, is that I am doing the same thing at the opposite end of the bridge, is that I'm so interested in what it is that I'm doing in the games that I have, pro survival games. And still have to keep the lights on and a roof overhead and all of that stuff. I'm currently I've currently made a recent decision to move 2 levels up with the organization, and not, shall I say, coast.
Right. Well, here's the thing though.
But that doesn't get me in session every day.
Yeah, by your own admission, right?
I know how to do it. I don't even have the excuse of somebody that hasn't done solo one.
Right.
I've done all this stuff and audited thousands of hours solo, and I'm so busy playing these positive games that I'm not advancing, up onto, well, just to keep it within reality, above OT8.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it.
So this could actually be a podcast. Why aren't you OT / why aren't you staying OT?
Why aren't you keeping up with it?
Right.
I mean, it is a real problem.
Yeah.
It is a real problem for me. And I want to say, and I know you guys are going to have a field day when I say this. If I had more OTs to work with, I'd have more time.
I see.
Well, that was going to be a statement I was about to make. Maybe it is as simply as like having a circle of people that you can be.
Yeah, it's hard.
Do you know what? An hour a day, it's not going to cost you a lot.
Oh no, and I agree, and I've seen that. I mean, I can compartmentalize my schedule and stuff like that. And admittedly, we do the podcasts in the morning and stuff like that when I would normally go in session. That doesn't help, but I can go into agreement with it, or I can disagree with it. I can get up earlier and I can get my coffee and I can go in session. And at my level on the bridge, if I'm in session 30 minutes, that's a long session because I'm usually so blown out. So, if I can dish it out, I can take it, type of a thing. But it's the positive side of it is, I'm trying to make all of the courses have an incredible, a lot more value to them, and to be exactly perfect with everything in place and images, and make sure everything is just to the nines with things, and the advertising and the SEO and the sessions, and getting people to continue on their bridge and not go into agreement with all these distractions, which is why I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of those things are really great, and I'm not invalidating it at all.
Totally fine.
But again, even with me, like when I've tried to for example, there have been times that I've tried to quit things, you know, like cigarette smoking and stuff like that, and I'll suddenly have this amazing idea, you know, and it's gonna fix everything type of thing, you know. It was that big, and I write it down, and I've got plans, and I do an admin scale on it, and everything like that. Next thing I know, guess what? Cigarette's back in my hand, you know. I've been like, oh, that can wait, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's easy to do.
exactly. So
Easy to
so
do.
that's why these things can sometimes come up as distractions.
Yep. Good.
Even the positive things, even the
Yeah.
things that are very
I just want to be creative. I just want to go create. I can go in session tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week and becomes next month. It becomes next year. I mean, that's quite literally
because you got to remember something.
what's happened to me.
You got to remember something. I wouldn't. I honestly, if something happens to you, God forbid, like I'm not going to be able to take over.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a tech terminal.
Right.
It's just not
Right.
going to happen, right?
There isn't anybody to keep the torch moving under our banner.
Yeah, so
at the moment.
take this as me not trying to invalidate
No.
you, but rather to say, hey, you know, the auditor has got to take care of
Yeah,
himself
you gotta. I mean, the biggest struggle I have in doing this is getting other people to. Well, I mean, it's not even getting other people. It's just getting to the point to where I have other OTs who are auditors, and if something were to happen to me, it would carry on, and they want to carry it on.
Right.
I mean,
But what
that's
do you do
nothing
now,
against
though?
you.
That's the
Well, I
thing.
mean, all I can do is continue to go up the bridge to eliminate. And this is my point. This is a great 360, and feel free to jump in anytime, Arthur. It's a great 360 to
I mean,
go.
at least it does
How,
make a valid point.
yeah,
Yeah.
is the only thing that I can do is I'm running into the same thing that I'm talking about to other people, just on a different level or viewpoint or state. Is the only thing that's going to handle that is me continuing to get up the bridge to where I'm playing. You know, we have an island somewhere with a hotel and an airstrip and all this stuff, and we basically have our own flag service org where nobody can fuck with us, and we are autonomous, and we use Starlink to communicate with everybody. And that's my end goal. I mentioned it about a year ago. Is that's what I would like to do. Is I would like to have an autonomous situation where we can continue to deliver LRH's tech, and we literally have our own island that is not part of some government where they can fuck with us. And that can be done, especially with Starlink. So thank you, Elon. That sort of thing is a game changer. Anyway, Arthur, you look like you want to say something.
Well, it's kind of going back to all of it, isn't it? Like even what you were just saying before, it's just like we're looking for like overall fix all answers, but something's got to come before that in order to create that. And it was interesting because while I was listening to this Bill Robertson, it was talking about a heap of rioters were throwing Molotov cocktails at the ships, and there was like a little mini riot going on.
Yeah.
And everybody was freaking out. And so, but they were actually fighting back. And so Ron Hubbard, he was in the background, sort of, you know, saying, okay, you guys are really important to the Sea Org. You go below deck. You guys, as volunteers for now, you fight this battle. But while he was doing all of that, he was also preparing for the future at the same time. And so Bill Robertson was saying how he was taking photographs of the main instigators and then ended up taking them to court to resolve this and won. And it was just the way he expressed the story where, okay, he's got a future plan, but he's still very present in what's happening now. And even though now seems quite hard to deal with because, you know, people are fighting, people are trying to get on the ships and burn them down with Molotov cocktails and throwing rocks. And these guys were throwing them back, which I thought was really interesting. Like instead of just taking the blows, they actually fought back and they actually won as well. And it was just an interesting story because he still stuck to his main goal while dealing with these current situations, which led to side situations, which he still dealt with. Like this man is pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is if I had two OTs, three OTs type of a thing where there were other people to help handle other people, I'm uh things would be markedly different. But that's
Couldn't,
Yeah.
couldn't you say the same for everybody else, though? You know, those people on the cruise ships, like, oh, it's the first holiday that they've had in X amount of years, and if they had other
that's not the
people,
case with the situations I'm talking about, but I get what you're saying. I mean, I get it.
I mean, if I wasn't traumatized as a kid about demons and possession, I might be on my OT levels now. You know, we all have our little
Well,
justifications.
sure,
It's
sure. I'm just saying that it OTs work better in numbers. That's what LRH realized, and I see that too. And I'm trying to get everything um, done that I can get done and stuff like that. But when you get 6 or 7 or 8, I think he says that's about the right number of OTs, which is basically the number of people it takes to run an org. Then now you're talking type of a thing. And I'm like, God damn, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
been, I've been doing this now since 2011, 12 years, roughly 13 years, something like that. And it's taken a long time. And part of it is my inability to deal with that and go up the bridge at the same time because I'm patching holes or I'm fixing this or I have to pay for this subscription or pay for that subscription. Where's the money going to come from? That type of a thing. It's always something. Well, it's the same thing for everybody else. I get it. I'm not just saying this and standing to the side and say, look what's happening to you. Yeah, it happens to me, but it's on the positive end. It's still difficult, but you got to keep progressing up the bridge. I learn something every day in what I do because I'm dealing with Scientology all day long. And that's a big difference. That's the only thing that keeps me afloat in applying it correctly. So, the whole point is that you just have to decide. I enjoy what I do. Do you enjoy what you do? If you don't enjoy what you do, make your next appointment for session. Get up the bridge. Things you don't know how much better things can be, and they will continue to get better. Do I consider things to be better? Hell yes. I'm not complaining about anything that's going on. I'm having a blast. And I a lot of times just fall in the bed and pass out and snore loudly, my wife says.
I have to wear earplugs.
But because I'm my eyes at 56 are like, all right, you're done. You can't use me anymore. You need to get some rest. I am too tired to continue doing this for you. The spirit is willing, but the body is spongy and soft. That's my idea of a good game.
Mm.
It's not, oh fuck, I gotta go to work. Now I did mention yesterday, in all fairness, I don't like to have to put up with everybody's cases all the time because I have to be
Yeah.
Theta the solver to handle their shit. And I have to say, well, there's this tech and there's that tech, and I have to be LRH's librarian for all this stuff and everything. And then that's the downside of it. But the fact of the matter is if I don't do it, who's gonna? So, am I thankful for that? Yep, I'm thankful for that. Even though I
And you
need,
actually do it really, really well. Like it
well,
freaks me out how you can just go straight to a reference in, volume 4, about halfway down, out of 1,000 pages worth of tech. It's
Yeah.
around page 650. That
Yeah, he
freaks me out
keeps he
every
keeps
time.
telling me to use the
Yeah.
Oracle, use Finn and stuff like that, but I'm always using him because he's like the best resource. Like it's just like, hey babe, tell me where can I find this?
what is this? Yeah, well, you use Finn on the
Yeah, I do
website
use
more and
Finn.
And
Yeah,
not
more.
only
that's
that,
amazing.
word for word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
How
And
how do
word for
you
word too.
guys
Like
how do
it
you
blows
guys
my
think
mind.
I keep saying things like like policy titles or whatever, shit. Now that I'm trying to think of one, it's not popping up, but like
well, you use
complexity
complexity and
and
confronting. Yeah,
confrontingness.
yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. It's because it's been reiterated so much by him. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
then it gets
there's
stuck in my mind, and then I'm able to be like, damn, you got that problem too.
Right. She'll
Use
point
it
something out
against
to me,
you.
and I'm like, is my lip bleeding? Because I just feel like I got punched. And
I'll never forget when I first started Scientology, you were like, especially the data evaluators course, you were like, oh boy, I should not have opened this Pandora's box.
Why did I educate this being on that? Fuck. Here we go. And she'll go, that's an out point. Well, what kind of an out point is it, Jonathan?
Yeah, sometimes it can be a bit difficult to keep up with. It's like, okay, slow down. I can't write that fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that
the
just comes with the territory and familiarity. If you're dealing with Toyota cars and you deal with it all the time, you know all the parts that go bad first as a mechanic, and what engines are good and what engines aren't. Da 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 da. And familiarity is key a number of times over. But when you're serving people, and you've seen these things happen time and time and time and time again, you're like, it's just right there on deck, and you're just spitting it out. But see, that's the thing. That's OT. That's OT because my understanding and the depth of my understanding of the things that Hubbard says, and Bill Robertson to a certain degree, because it's 1 degree of separation and stuff, is completely different than it was when I got trained as an auditor. I didn't have a clue. And maturity goes along with this as well. But the thing is maturity isn't just the body getting older. It is an awareness and an understanding of the information that comes from the use of it with yourself, and more importantly with others, because you're not going to encounter everything that you can encounter as a being to solve problems for with yourself, because maybe you've got all your ducks in a row and other people don't. Well, the only way you're going to learn is by applying that with other people. That's where I've gained a lot of my knowledge, is just applying it to other people and helping them out with their issues. You look like you want to say something. No? Okay. Arthur?
No. Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, all right, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
So, that's the whole issue, is you don't know what you don't know. And the only way you're going to find out is by getting there. And believe you me, it isn't just some fancy thing and something to strive for, and then you get there and there's nothing there.
Well, what's difficult about this whole thing is really it's a snake eating its own tail thing, because you're studying a subject that makes you more able in the physical universe. So you're doing it for the physical universe. Then, right, you're at this point where you're having fun in the physical universe. And it's like, but wait, there's still more to do. You can have even more fun. But it's like, no, I'm playing this game right now. It's really, really fun. Yeah. And unfortunately, as we've seen with some other people, without mentioning names, you get so far and then no further. And then it just starts going down. We're talking about people not just getting sick, but people getting in accidents and all this kind of thing. I'm not trying to fearmonger at all.
No, they're just willing to take risks that they wouldn't normally take risks.
Yeah,
because that's what they enjoy. And well, in one particular case, I mean, they've had to swear off doing what they enjoy because it nearly killed them twice.
Yeah,
twice.
Yeah,
because it was such a dangerous hobby.
Yeah.
And okay, that's all good and fine, but you got to get onto the OT levels, because he says after clear in CS Series 73, you are at risk. And that is so freaking true. It's not funny.
When he says you're at risk, does it say like of what specifically? Like,
well, you've opened Pandora's box. You've handled, the definition of clear is a being who no longer has their reactive mind. Okay. But what's happened is once you've done that, now you've opened a box, and people could say, well, why would I want to do that? I get it. But the thing is to what I'm about to say is there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not more than that, reactive minds that are associated with you that are holding you back.
Okay.
And this is where this risk comes from.
Why
And
wasn't that risk there before?
because your awareness couldn't access it. And now your awareness can access it. Okay. You've handled the most recent thing on the chain.
Yeah, but what is that awareness, though?
Well, the awareness is that you are a composite being. These influences that you have.
But I wouldn't have learned that, though.
No, you wouldn't have. So what it comes down to is it's the red pill or the blue pill in the matrix. That's what it comes down to is, do you want to know, or do you want to remain in the ignorance is bliss thing? And that's the point. When you go clear, you have chosen the red pill.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's a wonderful state. It's a really good start, but the best is yet to come. And along with it is the worst that has already happened is yet to come as well. Now, take a moment and think about what I just said. The worst that has already happened is yet to come. Okay? What are you doing, and what do you do with auditing and Dianetics? You're going back and handling the worst that has already come. Okay?
It's interesting you say that.
Yeah.
Because even just from doing the purif, even just from doing the purif, so many things that I was avoiding that I wasn't even realizing I was avoiding,
right,
all of a sudden came to the surface and needed to be dealt with. And what was interesting was I had the courage and there were no aberrations towards dealing with it, which I found really interesting. And that was just from doing the purif, let alone doing more involved processes. That was just from removing physical substances.
Yeah, just from that one thing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that. You know, these movies where there's a dark tunnel and you're like, don't go in the tunnel, don't go in the tunnel. They're going in the tunnel. I would have never done that as a kid. I just said that the other day. Why in the world would somebody go down that dark tunnel? Well, the fact of the matter is the only reason you're afraid of the dark tunnel is because of what happened in the past. Because if they're still going in the tunnel, to that degree, they're OT because they want to know how to handle that fear or solve the problem of the story type of a thing, resolve it, the curiosity type of thing. And that's the thing, is that these things all of the things that hold us back aren't things that are happening in the future. They're things that have happened in the past where we've gone, okay, I can't touch that hot stove anymore. Well, we're looking at this on a magnitude, a universal galactic scale that you're having to handle these things, and why this universe exists. I kid you not. Why this universe exists, and you are not part of it, and you don't have to agree with it, and you can be anywhere in this universe at any time you want as a being. You don't have to take your body along. Remote viewing, exteriorization is real. Telepathy is real. Are you interested? That's it. That's all it comes down to. You just have to take the next step. And I'm not saying, it's not these cool parlor tricks. I'm just saying there's a lot more to you that is there. You just have to access it. That's all that it is. And you have an opportunity. And he says it's a brief breath in eternity. Take your chance now while you can. That's it. That's all there is to it. And, many shall be asked, but few shall decide to step up. And you have this opportunity, and you don't have to be suppressed by a suppressive organization to do it. And Mother May I and all this stuff. You just have to want to help yourself and be honest to yourself. It's that simple. Do you want to, or do you not? Lots of other pretty little rocks to look at on the way, but my job is to say, hey, they're pretty rocks, yes, but the proper way is to go this way. He actually says that in one of the policies.
Do you feel like you've gotten across to people why they should do it and not just have the back off that they have?
Some.
I feel like we're sort of missing that key factor,
Well, that's the thing, is it's a little bit different for every person. And I hate to use the how awful it could be in the shades of night and the world is going to come to an end and blah, and boom, you know. I hate to do that. I really hate to do that. And I like to appeal to the positive side of the tone scale and say it's not all hellfire and brimstone. But it, you know, Christ, civilizations are fragile things and they come and go. And the only thing that's going to make it better for everybody is to decide to make it better. And you have to start with your first dynamic and go from there. And then second and third and fourth and so on, type of a thing. It doesn't take a lot of beings to put order in and keep this place from teetering on the brink. It really doesn't. That's why it's called OT, and it does what it does. Only a handful of people can keep a society like this from going boom. It doesn't take a lot. That's what the OT levels give you the ability to do. You can go handle whoever.
People making it go boom.
Yeah. It's only a tiny little fraction of people that want to make it go boom, and OTs can fix that. I can go handle any person I want to that's a threat. I know how to do that. But I'd like to have somebody to have my back in case, God forbid, the something happens there where rats jump ship and I end up sick or something like that. It's never happened in the past, and I've been able to handle it. But see, that's OT. Wouldn't that be cool if you could do that too? You want to go handle Joe Biden and his case remotely? Go for it. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding when I say that. This is what an OT can do. You can go change these guys. So I know that sounds out reality and everything like that, but that is the potential and the capability that you have, is you can handle any situation you want to with this tech as an OT, a solo auditor OT. Any thoughts, feelings, or significances there as you look out the window and smoke your cigarette? I leave it in.
I think it's hard to. I mean, the answer is really obvious, isn't it? You know, if you want it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Nike ad. Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. If you can have a cup of coffee every day in the morning, if you can take a shower every day, if you can brush your teeth every day, you know, if you can have that chocolate in the box, if you whatever, you make those things go right. This isn't any different, and it's not a lot to ask. It's not and shouldn't be a chore. You just have to decide, make that postulate, and get the job done. And you don't have to do that forever. 2 years, at most 2 years. It doesn't have to take forever. And then it's done. Once you're trained and you have the data and you're using it, it's just a part of you. And then you can get on with the show and continue to maintenance it 1 hour a day while going in solo session. You know, you don't have to start your own org or anything like that. You can if you want to, but at least, you know, be, you know, it's that army ad back in the 80s. Be all you can be. The U.S. Army. Well, the same holds true for yourself on the first dynamic. Why wouldn't you? If you were presented with all the riches in the world, would you take them? Okay, you probably would. This isn't any different. It's just not matter, energy, space, and time.
So the core reasons is basically the first one, you're doing yourself a disservice by not going in session.
Right.
2, you probably have back off, and that means a lack of confront, which means you're still not where you should be technically.
And that's why you're not there.
Yeah. 3, what was that other thing you said? Oh, you might not get another chance again.
Yeah.
4, your life can be even better than it is right now.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Like OT abilities and stuff like that.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. And the only reason you don't know it is you're preventing yourself from knowing it because you already know it. You just kind of having a bit of a early onset spiritual dementia.
Yeah, maybe it's also like, well, it's so funny when you really think about it, right? So Scientology is knowing how to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
We already know, we've just forgotten, but we've agreed to forget to play the game.
That's right.
So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to disagree with the fact that we don't know by
You're
learning about
disagreeing with your original
Scientology.
disagreement. Right. But see,
It's messed up.
right, that's postulate counter postulate.
Yeah.
That is a GPM, goals, problems, mass. It really is. And that's what he discovered. And the thing is that, all of this stuff a Thetan can be and do anything. You're your own worst enemy or your own best friend. And that's what we're trying to resolve with the grade chart is get you to recognize you can be your own best friend. And in being your own best friend, you're doing so across all of the 8 dynamics, not just the first dynamic. Because if you're a nicer person and a better person, then clearly it's gonna spread out like ripples across all dynamics. I mean, how could it not? And boy, the world sure needs that right now. I mean, with all the stuff going on and all of this crazy stuff that people are creating and agreeing with and all that. It could be a lot happier place. Very simply, it's just a matter of one person after another deciding, and it doesn't take a lot to tip the balance.
Mm.
Just do it.
Mm.
So before we wrap
really
this
good
podcast up, what did you have something you want to say, Arthur?
Yeah, that was really good. It's certainly got me reflecting on some of my agreements quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I'm glad we did this.
Good. So
What would you say to somebody who has back off and who has like fear? Like what should they do in order to eradicate those fears and just confront it? Is it just a case of just do it, Because let's be real, I've been trying to do that very thing for the last 2.5 years.
3
years. And I'm just like, I dabble in it, and then I go off, and then I dabble. The pro TRs is basically where I'm constantly getting my ass handed to me because of the ADHD, I just can't be there and be comfortable. Yeah, it's like,
but
it has gotten better.
Yes, it has. But I mean, it just all comes down to agreement and the complexity in confronting PL.
Right.
Which is, if something's complex, what about that thing are you not confronting? All right, now you know what it is that you're not confronting. Okay, how do you confront it? Okay, sit down with me. And the funny thing is I know you can sit down and you can do that with somebody else. I know Arthur can sit down and do that with somebody else. And it's one thing to tell somebody else how to do it. It's yet another to practice it yourself. But that's why it's a 2-terminal universe. And that's the real point of this, is that when a person goes clear, they no longer consider themselves part of the messed universe, matter, energy, space, and time, because they are in control of their pictures. They are in control of what motivates them to be in fear or to be in sorrow or happiness, enthusiasm, so on and so forth. So at that point, you don't have to agree with it. If you are agreeing with something and are clear, just stop mocking that shit up. That's what you're not confronting, is you're mocking something up that isn't there.
Right, but essentially what you're saying is you're saying that you have control over the reactive mind, whereas the whole point of the bridge and everything is because you don't have that ability to not mock it up, because that's just what you're doing. So like, I guess I'm saying, like, how do you not do that if you haven't been there yet? Because that's part of the problem. Like, we're here right now with the OTE. Like you said, you keep saying, like, where you're at is where you're at for a reason, right? So where you're at is basically why you need to be doing that. But it's, again, the snake eating the tail thing.
Well, it is. And there is a certain degree.
Like, you need to spend money to make money, but you don't have the money to make money, kind of thing. That's
Right.
the thing.
Right. Well, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, it's
And
that
that goes
simple.
back to what you're agreeing to as well, isn't it? Because if you're agreeing already that you won't have the money, then you won't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I have people
Yeah.
that instead of saying, here's money, audit me to clear, do me, do me, do me, do me, do me. I have public PCs who actually did a co-audit and learned how to audit the bottom of the bridge level by level. And as they learned how to audit the level, they and their twin on that course then audited the level on each other and co-audited, did another level, co-audited, did another level, co-audited, and got to clear. And they are some of the most shining examples of what the lower end of the bridge can do, because they understand the technology and they've delivered the technology and they are the result of that technology.
So TLDR basically to everybody, including me, don't be a little bitch, just do it.
Pretty
You know,
much.
yeah, confront is a bitch. It is, you know, it's sort of like the
But
expression, the
it's
moon
so
is,
rewarding when you do it. Like I've had some incredible wins with some of the confronts. Like even just learning about it to start with.
yeah,
I can't think of another way of expressing how to deal with some life things other than confronting it. And I find myself saying that to people in my circle, oh, you just got to confront it. And
yeah,
then I find myself backing up, but I don't mean go beat them up. I mean, just deal with it. You know what I mean? I find
Right.
myself changing my language to somebody who hasn't understood it as I've learnt it, um, which is really interesting as well. And I
yeah,
think
it's
that's what you're
tricky.
saying as well, like that group dynamic as well, having somebody or people where you can have that conversation and they know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can actually have like that communication. So at your level, at OT and beyond, having a circle around you where you can have those conversations with, um,
Yeah, you have
I don't
share
know, what
common
about you,
reality.
Lisa? Like, yeah, like what about you, Lisa? Like around people you used to know
Yeah.
versus people you're knowing. You
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
absolutely. Like, before I would well, because, okay, so my biggest realization, and I've said this in a previous podcast, has been the realization about responsibility. Like, I am responsible for every little thing in my life, and that I cannot be a victim at any point in time. I know that I own my shit, right? Now, dealing with people, like, I don't have friends really, except for online friends, and mostly they're kind of just like sort of like my clients as well. There's like that gray area, but I don't have friends in real life because all the old people that I used to know have this mentality that the world owes them something. And, like, things just happen to them, or it's fate, or this, like, they'll look for any other thing outside of themselves but themselves. So because of that,
Yeah.
I haven't really, since I became clear, I haven't really made new friends, mostly because, life is busy and I'm focusing on business and stuff like that, but also because I just, you know, a lot of people are like that. It is very difficult to find real people who can get out of their own way and realize that they're responsible for everything and that there are no justifications and stuff, because it's difficult for me. Like, I have compassion for people who aren't there, but it is difficult for me to put in the time and effort into building relationships with people who aren't there yet, because I mean, if something happens within the friendship, guess what? It's because this happened and that happened and that happened, not because of them. And I don't have the time for it. So why set myself up for that shit?
Yeah, somebody, an acquaintance of mine said once. He said the one of the things that he got out of the OT levels is that and this was a big win for him. Is he says, I just can't put up with other people's bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
And I was
Even
like,
I'm
wow,
finding that with the
yeah,
little I've learned, I really, really struggle. I just struggle. in that sense.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, it's a matter of ARC, and it's a matter of awareness that you see things from a different perspective, and every step of the way is what's in front of you. Yeah, but that's a lot to confront, and I don't know if I can confront it.
It's probably awful for you with me, isn't
Oh,
it?
Yeah, yeah.
how's it down there in Australia, Arthur?
Probably not much different to what you guys are experiencing.
Right.
Maybe worse.
It-
Maybe worse, because not only do we have, the attitude of the individual, but then we also have the laws that back that up, which makes it even worse.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Makes it even worse.
yeah.
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 And Lisa was talking about, well, the differences between South Africa and America, and how they handle banking, and they're holding your funds for 21 days at PayPal, and holding your funds until we hear from you, and stop, 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 stop. And well, yeah, you know what? Welcome to planet Earth and all of the aberrations and control points that people have. But the thing is that the definition of OT and LRH is absolutely right, is the ability to make things go right.
Yeah.
If that's not worth all of the things that you have to confront, brother, you're on your own.
Mm.
It's just that simple. Why in the world wouldn't you want to do that? It doesn't care. It doesn't matter what it is that you have to confront. You can confront it. You can confront it as an OT, and you can get on with it, and you can. Sure, there's going to be freedoms, boundaries, and purposes, but wouldn't you like to decide what it is instead of it deciding for you? She's
Well, I mean, again, it's kind of funny that you say, "Why wouldn't you want that?" Right? Why wouldn't you want to know the game better? Well, this is the thing, though,
I know, I
because
know.
we put ourselves here, so obviously we wanted that at some stage, and now we're like, "No, no, okay, we're good. Like, give us what we had back." Like it's really a
Yeah,
confusing
yeah. Well,
game.
it's always a case of, in this universe, the solution to the problem becomes a further problem, and you
Yeah,
just got to get used to
yeah.
that. And I don't know how many times you point that out to me. I'm sorry I ever
I
told you about that.
absolutely love that thing. Love it. That there's a problem for every solution, and the solution, like
Yeah,
just problem solution, problem solution, problem solution. Like when I saw that, I was like, and I could apply it to everything. I was like, wow, because there will always be another problem.
yeah,
You know, you get a puppy to solve
And
the problem of loneliness. Guess what? That puppy's going to pee on the floor and you're going to have to clean it up. Then, when you've cleaned it up, you're using products. So, you're going to have to buy more products. Then, you're going to have to make more money for those products. Then, you're going to have, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And you can look at this with every single thing in life. So, the unhappiest person is the person who doesn't want problems, I think.
yeah. And that's what the society has come to, is well, here, take a pill.
Problems give purpose, really.
Yeah, yeah.
and
It's
I don't know about you guys, but I've also found like those elements that I've avoided for so long and actually confronted. There's like this, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like there's this invisible force that goes with it, and things just happen in a way you couldn't even conceive while you're doing these things. Like everything just seems to fall in place. It's like
Mhm,
it's like you hear people saying the universe will respond.
mhm.
Like the secret kind of concepts where
Yep.
Think and Grow Rich, he talks about it.
Mhm.
This ether, this
Rich dad, poor dad.
invisible force.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's so true. And it's not until you experience it that you're just like, wow, that actually happened.
Mhm.
Um, and the funny thing is, once it happens, you just get on with things after that. like
Yeah.
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
happened, it blows your mind, and then you go on to the next thing. Like it didn't happen.
Yeah. If you agree with one thing, that's what's going to happen. If you agree with another, that's what's going to happen. And that's what OT is all about, is agreement. It is an agreement with your own postulates. It's not an agreement with something else's postulates or machinations or lies. I mean, we live in a society full of arbitraries. Look it up if you don't know the meaning of arbitrary. Full of lies that are arbitraries. And you don't have to agree with those things. And that's why Hubbard is derided as much as he is, because people don't want solutions to their problems because they might have to confront. That's it. That is it. Period. There isn't anything else other than that.
Mm.
And if you want your problems, you're going to have your problems, or you're going to have good problems that you decided that you want to have. And that's the OT levels allow you to, solve the problems that you created, that you made in that game, to play that game, instead of how am I going to be able to survive above and beyond what I get from disability in the United States, getting your $1,800 a month, or food stamps, or whatever. And you can agree with that, or you can go out and you can start your own business, or you don't have to rob and steal from somebody else to survive. You can be creative, have fun, and have the joie de vivre that you've always wanted. It doesn't have to be that way. You just have to decide, I'm going to change this.
Yeah.
So now that we're all unicorns, rainbows, and roses,
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I hope this helps and pushes people in the right direction. An hour a day, 2 hours a day, whatever you can do it. Get on with it. Disagree with the problem of I can't go up the bridge. That's all you have to do. That's where it all starts. And keep it in. Don't let it fall out. Keep it in. Always something that will come and distract you. Admire the distraction. Wow, that's great. And then get back in session. Get back on course. Go OT, because this world will be a much better place with you, and we would love to have you. I promise you. So, in closing, anybody have anything in closing beside me?
No.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you on Wednesday for another podcast. Namaste, and we love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.